So the owner of TPC, which is of course the company that develops the DSC controller, this is his car. It's a C7 ZR1. It's friggin' gorgeous. But he actually does race this. He takes it to the track, races it. It's got the DSC Sport Controller in it, just like I'm getting put in my Z06 today. But just take a look at this thing, guys. Of course, it's a manual transmission. Can't go any other way with these kind of cars. Definitely nice. All carbon fibered up. I mean, you guys probably already know what a ZR1 looks like, but it's pretty cool that he actually has one of these cars. This is how serious he is about Corvette stuff here.
What he's actually doing is getting your ride height numbers. And these are really critical, your ride heights, okay? And we picked this point of the chassis because the GM chassis are so perfect from front to rear of the car. I bet they're not even off a millimeter. They're built perfect. And this piece of chassis, this suspension, is the backbone of the car, and it's bolted directly to the tub. So we use this point because it's right under the axle. And we got our ride height numbers. And what I've done is we've actually recorded ride heights from different cars that we have used, even brand new ZR1s, GSs that we've been running at different racetracks. And we've been accumulating this data, and you've lowered your car. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the ride height specifically set. When the front end's too low on these cars, they don't get good rear grip, and also the ride is terrible. And you can only be off by 1 or 2 rounds. So it's really critical to have your ride heights right. So these measuring the ride height in the rear. Now we'll show you the front. And again, I'm picking a chassis point that is under the axle, and it's very relevant from car to car. I've found that every car that comes off of GM's line is money. They're all exactly the same. And I also find that every car that comes in, the ride height is adjusted, but there's no attention paid to the proper ride height settings. Nobody's measuring them. You need to. This particular ride height is about, what, 5.8 inches in the front here? And what's in the rear, roughly?
Just 5.
Just 5. And that's pretty close to what you want for a car that's lowered. Stock in the back would have been closer to 5.5, and in the front would be 6.1. So now your ride height numbers are set, so now it's off to the caster. Because you can't establish your caster before you establish your ride height. If you were to establish the caster and move the ride height down, let's say 100 thou, every work that you're having them done is blown.
Yep.
It's for nothing. And when you're at the racetrack, a round up or down in the front is huge. And you'll know when it's wrong because the car rides bad.
Right.
And the second you get the ride height just right in the front, it puts down grip and the ride gets good. And that's when you know your car is getting better. Same thing on a racetrack.
All right, guys. So we are here with Mike, the owner of TPC Racing. DSC controller installed on the car. We just went for a ride. It feels fantastic. It's light years better than what GM has to offer us. And he has been gracious enough to sit down and talk to us. Tell us a little bit about the product, a little bit about what it does in a more technical term. So,
but not to get too technical, because the biggest thing is your reaction when you just drove the car away. You thought you would have to drive the car. Oh, I've got a 3-hour drive home. I'll be able to feel it on the way. How long did it really take you to feel what's going on?
20 seconds. The second I was backing out, I could tell the difference going 2 miles an hour in reverse.
And it's not that it's technical, it's that it's a simple solution. Because GM has made an incredibly great car. The C7 is an amazing platform. That's the reason we're able to get the results we are. Quite simply, you've already got an amazing platform. It's got a real nice rigid hood. It was just a matter of what I would say for our algorithm, because DSC Sport is all about an algorithm. It's almost a way of life for us. It's a matter of how we view the world at the racetrack. And it's all about grip and performance. And it carries the same weight in the street. The ride, the drivability, it all carries the same from the racetrack. So what we've done is we've improved the ride by changing the caster angle of the rear suspension pretty dramatically in your car, I might add. And what that did was it changed the caster angle in the back of this car was leaning more towards as the car was turning in. So if you're making a right-hand turn, the right rear tire would have had more toe out than the left tire having toe in, which would essentially shorten the wheelbase. That's the reason you felt nervous about driving the car. It would hit a depression in the pavement. It felt unsettling. Even though you know the car wasn't shifting lanes, it felt unsettling. So we cured that by improving the cast angle in the rear. Dramatic change. Now, when you're making a turn, the inside wheel is towing in more, or rather the unweighted inside wheel is towing out less than the outside weighted wheel is towing in. And so conversely, now you have a longer wheelbase. So it gives you that confidence. And now, rather than GM's, what they've done is they've really built their algorithm or their strategy, let's say, for the setup. Their strategy is based on stiffening the chassis to minimize the amount of movement. So they do it by minimizing it. But the problem with that is that you lose grip in the tire. The frequency of the tire does not match that of the road surface. You lose grip. What we've done is the opposite. We've actually now, when you're accelerating, when you're driving, we've lowered the rear low-speed compression quite a bit because we have full velocity tuning in the DSC. And we've now made it so that it's supple, and now the car gets good gripping and accelerating. Gives you huge confidence. In the rain, it's like it's a bigger game changer in the rain than it is in the dry even. So that's why you're seeing these notable improvements in the car. It's really simple, but yet a fantastic solution. I think always the best solutions are the simplest and the most direct approach. It's not a band-aid approach. It's a complete approach. That's why we've always had people with your reaction. And also the frequency of the current is different going to the dampers themselves, which you can feel that ripple in the damper. So we have changing frequency as well. You're feeling all of these things in DSC Sport.
Yeah, so guys, in my minimal amount of driving so far, I've noticed the car somehow rides smoother, but doesn't seem to lose rigidity. So the car still holds tight in turns, but somehow still feels smoother. Now with the Z07 packaged car, it is a stiff suspension. There's no way around it, it is stiff. And he actually has a new ZR1, and in his car he's using the same map that I have on mine, which by itself speaks volumes because he races the ZR1 on the track. So if he can get results out of this product on the track with his ZR1, there's literally no reason this car can't be improved tenfold just from an electronic controller that he put in the car.
Really what you're really saying in layman's term, what we consider platform. When you're talking about how the car feels, like you'll find out that now that this is a truly active car, you will have a car that rides fantastic no matter what mode you're in, whether it's touring or like butter. Sport is my favorite. My car always stays in sport. Love the throttle, love the exhaust. Man, the only thing difference is I'm telling you, I turn my traction control off all the time and I just have a ball of fun. Because now even when you're sliding the car, it's completely predictable. You can just lay the tail out where you want because the wheelbase keeps increasing. And the platform comes from as you're leaning on the car, as you're requesting, whether it's turning wheel, braking, accelerating, you're asking the car to always be level, and that is platform. In those terms, that's platform you're getting. That's your feeling. You've got a great ride, but you didn't lose the platform, which you always do in a traditional sense.
Exactly.
If you soften the shocks up too much, the car loses all of its compliance.
Right.
Not with DSC Sport.
And that's literally something I've been saying for as long as I can remember. Why can't we have a comfortable ride with a sporty feeling, stiff kind of style suspension? And that's what this is. It's literally allowing you to take the turns and everything's staying level, just like he said, but it's nice and soft. I mean, soft's probably not the right word. It is much more compliant over bumps than it ever was stock.
Right, you're not feeling the major hit in the tire.
Right.
And that is the current going to the damper. These magnetic dampers are so responsive that you can feel every depression in the pavement. And everybody that has driven a DSC powered car has noticed this right away. The ride completely is transformed. It's a transformative experience. And that's what your experience is, the DSC mindset.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thanks for experiencing it.
Thank you for allowing me to. The alignment, guys, here by itself, like I said, I couldn't find a dealership that would do the alignment the way it should be done. And when I came in here, everybody here that I talked to knew immediately what I was talking about. Dealer can't do it. Even if they could, it wasn't going to be done correctly because of their tools not necessarily being calibrated perfectly. This, I could tell right off the bat, between the fact that it feels smoother ride, there's not any kind of jumpiness in the rear end anymore from the inappropriate rear caster. Everything is perfect. At this point, if you own a C7 Corvette, this is where you need to be bringing it.
Well, and you know, to that point also, we're not secretive in the setup, the performance data. None of this is proprietary. Matter of fact, I really am out there to help the Corvette community. All of the things we did first on your car was the first thing we did was establish the ride height.
Yep.
Huge in the C7. We will be putting those specs on our site. I'd be glad, you know, if you give that snapshot of the ride heights and the way that we establish the ride height, that's the biggest thing you do first. Establish your ride height. We have those numbers from the stock car to the modified cars, all of the ride heights. That will affect your caster. Then you go ahead and set your caster, then your toe, and then you've got your car in a nice. And we're always there to try to help the community. We want to see more shops be able to do this. So
Yeah.
any shop within voice of what you're preaching, we're always glad to help you.
That by itself is fantastic because honestly, GM should be doing this. And one of the biggest things we actually talked about was a lot of the people buying a Z06, selling them with really low miles on them, may be the reason that they're selling it is because they're afraid of the car. It's almost scary to drive. It doesn't react the way you feel like it should. And he even said that a lot of the end users may think that it requires a race car driver to basically figure it out, but that's not necessarily the case.
No, it's not. One of the first things I noticed when I took delivery of my new 2016 Z06 when I bought my first late model C7 was that the car did not put down power, and that it was a white knuckle experience, and it was almost terrifying. You know, I've driven a lot of, I have over 100 starts in Grand Am, you know, in pro racing and GT, and even to me, driving at highway speeds in the rain was a white knuckled experience. It should not be that way. The only difference between a pro driver and a novice, or any driver for that matter, is just the ability to immediately relay that experience. Where a novice might get confused and think, wow, you know, you need a pro to be able to drive this. No, the pro identifies it and immediately calls in the crew chief and says, man, we got a big change to do, guys.
So they basically fix the issue, then they can drive it too. So the only difference really between the novice and the pro is the pro knows how to fix it. Not that he can outdrive it, he just fixes it.
Or recognizes it. Even if he can't do it, the crew chief, somebody else will help identify the issue. So that's what I've really tried to do, and I was bound and determined to do it because I own now 2 C7s, and I was not going to own the car if it wasn't the way that I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So I hope that everybody is able to gain that bit of knowledge from it.
Absolutely. And all of the specs and even the files for the DSC controller are available on the website. Like he said, he's completely transparent. None of this stuff is proprietary. If you want any of this information, if you have a DSC controller, you can easily download it from the site, load it to yours, and you have the same ride he does. So basically, this boils down to two things for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, the car is compliant while handling better.
You said in a nutshell, that's DSC Sport. That was from the very beginning in 2007. The whole emphasis of this was I saw the revolution of electronic digital suspensions coming. It's an inevitability. And with that comes the opportunity to do everything in one package. Not just have a set of street dampers, race dampers. You should be able to have all dampers under one roof. And that is what these late model cars are all about. And for me, the C7's been that in spades. That's it.
That's it. So guys, I'm going to be talking about this in a lot greater detail in future videos. I'm very impressed with what I learned here today, and honestly, the cars out here in the parking lot speak for themselves. I mean, the guys obviously know what they're doing here, and this car just rides massively better. I got a 3.5-hour ride home. and I'm going to have all kinds of information for you guys later on. But for now, Mike, thank you again.
Pleasure. Absolutely.
If you guys
Pleasure.
want to come down here and visit, they're in Jessup, Maryland. Is this
Yeah,
Jessup?
that's right.
So
where
come
you
check,
are.
come check them out if you have a C7. I'm telling you, you won't regret it.
You will not regret it.